y'all, welcome back to a new video, or welcome if you're new here to my channel. I'm Carrie Lynn, and today I'm sharing lots of DIYs with you. We're going to be painting, making a frame for the painting, and also working on a DIY upholstered headboard. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Hopefully it's very motivating. But for today's video, we are going to start off with a landscape painting, but first we got to go over the paint colors. This castle color. We have a coffee bean, French linen, olive green, golden sunset, country twill.
I might like that one.
And raw umber.
Can you give me a tissue?
Oh, that's one way to do it.
What?
Just threw the paintbrush at it. So I personally like to use acrylics to paint, and the first thing I do is I wet my paintbrush. I dip it in a little bit of color, whether that's a white, a cream. In this case, I'm using that first color I shared, which is called Castle. It's the Folk Art brand of acrylics. I got those from Hobby Lobby. They were really inexpensive there. But I'm basically just kind of painting this on in different directions, giving a very moody sky, because I wanted it to look like a cloudy sky, but in order to kind of create the layers, you have to layer on your paint as best as you can. And I like to use the water because it helps you smooth out any like harsh lines.
Accidents happen.
Sure do. It's definitely time to invest in an easel, especially if I'm going to paint any more large landscapes like this, because the whole painting just kept sliding off the chair, but you know, sometimes you just got to work with what you got. But I will say, this is the first big painting I've ever done. I typically paint like 11 by 14 or smaller, and if you are a beginner painter, you have to paint on a bigger canvas. I'm telling you, it is a game changer. It's so much easier to paint anything when you have a larger area to work with. I always thought like the bigger the canvas, the more work, but really it's so much easier because you can see what you're doing a lot better. Okay, so at this point I've mixed a couple different colors together to create multiple different beige colors. I wanted it to be very layered, have look like there's layers and layers of clouds on the sky. So at this point I'm taking a tissue and I'm kind of buffing in all those colors together to kind of blend them together. And it's really funny because some of you actually commented over on Instagram saying that this looked like a stone slab in the background, because I shared a quick little picture of it on Instagram, and y'all were like, oh, is that a countertop? I was so embarrassed. I was like, no way. But I mean, I can see it. Who knows, maybe I should paint my countertops like this. But I will say, with every painting, you just have to trust the process. It's not always going to be perfect at first. It's going to look a little crazy, but just trust the process. That is the key. At this point now, I'm just taking my paintbrush and stippling on a little bit of that dark gray that I mixed with a little bit of green. So I kind of created like a grayish green to give the illusion of rain clouds. That was the goal. So I wanted to add some more of that dark color, and then I'll just keep going in with the lighter colors and blending it out. Clouds are really tricky, to be honest. I've noticed that sometimes I can do them really well, and then sometimes I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Start over. And don't ever worry. If you ever are painting and you mess up with acrylics, what's great about them is once they dry, paint right over it back with white and just start over. So since I use acrylics, I'm able to kind of add a little bit of water to it to help kind of blend things out. But always keep in mind that the more water you add, the more it is likely to kind of run down. So you'll notice that sometimes I add too much and you'll start to see those drips. Once again, like I said earlier, do not panic. Just take a piece of tissue or take your paintbrush and kind of just stipple right over those areas, and it'll clean that water right up, and it actually creates almost like a watercolor effect. I think it just turns out really pretty, and everything just kind of flows so nicely. Well, now's a good time for me to add, I am completely self-taught with painting, okay? So I've never taken any art classes or anything like that, so please do not take advice from me. I probably do not know what I'm talking about, and I'm sure if you are an artist and you're watching this right now, you're probably cringing at the fact that I'm adding water and there's drips running down my painting, but I don't know, it always turns out okay, and that's just how I've always done it. At this point, I'm adding those fine details. I'm taking a really tiny paintbrush and I'm just kind of marking out where I want the grassy area to start and end, and I also kind of add like a little mountain up here going up to the top, and I'm taking a larger paintbrush mixed with a little bit of water, some brown greens, and I'm just blending all these colors together to create all that depth that's really important when you're painting a painting in general. I feel like the more layers you have, the better and better it's going to look.
You're my music, but you tear me to pieces. So where does it come from? A scene that keeps playing on repeat, ignores the rule of thumb. Oh, where does it come from? Oh, where does it come from? All your emotions with your heart on your sleeve, it won't fade until you paint it black. I let it burn, you call the fire brigade, but I feel that it will come back. Oh, where does it come from? 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 I'm calling you, 'cause I need you to play on, yeah, I need you to play on. You, 'cause my heart is on hold on, so I need you to play on, I'm your limbo, you're my intermission. Just look at the state we're in. I breathe you in and I can tell where I end and you begin. Where I end and you begin. Where I end and you begin. Oh, where does it come from? Oh, where does it come from? I'm calling you, 'cause I need you to play on, yeah, I need you to play on. You, 'cause my heart is on hold on, so I need you to play on.
This next step was extremely important, so I wanted to explain what I'm doing here. So I noticed that the clouds were not looking like clouds. It just kind of looked like a marble countertop. So I took some white paint, and it's the only white I had on hand. It's actually not even acrylics. I just went out to my paint stash. This is white paint that you use on your walls, y'all, okay? And I took that white paint and I was kind of dabbing on the clouds to make them look like actual clouds. Also, I just gotta say, and I try really hard not to toot my own horn or like, brag or anything like that, because I don't want to ever be that person that comes off as like super cocky, because I am 99% of the time, I am winging it. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I get lucky sometimes, and this is one of those moments. Y'all, I killed it with these clouds. I'm not going to lie. These look so good. These are the best clouds I've ever done in my life. Also, I think a lot of it had to do with the type of paintbrush I was using too. This is the first time I've ever used this particular paintbrush. This is actually for chalk paint, but I feel like it has the perfect texture to create a soft effect. And so using that wall paint, I was able to kind of go in a circular motion to create softness, because you don't want it to be too harsh of lines. You don't want it to look like you stippled on the white paint. You can kind of see my hand, but I'm going in like a circular motion very lightly over the grayish brown clouds that I made, and that's what gave the illusion of those soft, flowy, fluffy clouds. Definitely will be using this paintbrush in the future. I really hope I am not annoying the heck out of you guys with that song, but I've played it in like the past 5 videos, probably more than that. I love it so much. The song is called Play On, and the artist is Duplex. It's from epidemicsound.com. That's where I get all my music. I have a subscription with them, and that's how I'm able to put music in my videos, because music is really hard to find as a content creator. Sometimes I struggle with it. I actually recently played a really, really bad song in one of my videos and didn't even notice that I played the bad song. Sometimes I don't listen to the whole thing. I just kind of listen for beats. And anyway, this is one of my favorites right now, this Play On by Duplex. But this is the next day. I let the canvas fully dry overnight, and now I'm adding in the oak trees, which was extremely terrifying. If you have ever painted before, you know that whenever you are done with your canvas and now it's time to add in those fine details, that is when it's really challenging, because there is so much potential to mess up all of your hard work. I have done that so many times. I have painted some of the most beautiful sunsets and ruined it with like botchy trees. Oh, I can't even, I should show you guys some of them. It's really funny actually, because I do get pretty mad. I'm not gonna lie, especially whenever I'm like working really hard on something and I go to fix a small, tiny little mistake and I accidentally go in too heavy, and then it turns into like just this muddy mess. Oh, it's so frustrating. I get so mad and I just want to cry. But I know that happens. You know, they're not always gonna work out. And I have been recently trying to teach myself when to stop, because I will keep messing with things and just keep adding and keep adding. And that's where I mess up, because I never know when to stop. And I actually started to do that with this painting. I kept adding more and more shadows. And I was like, oh man, at one point I added a shadow and it got too dark and I thought I was headed down the wrong path. So I was like, you know what? Nope, stop where you are, stop adding, give it a day, add a frame to it, and then see how it looks. And something I've shared before in the past is, if you're ever painting something and you don't love the way it looks, the end result, put it in a frame. Putting it in a frame, it turns it from a basic painting into a work of art. It really does elevate it in so many ways. All the colors just pop better and it just looks incredible. So if you're ever just feeling like, oh, this is not my best work, make sure you put it in a frame before you start judging.
I've been feeling so small. Watch the clock ticking off the wall. But tonight I'm letting it go. Spend my coin for sure. I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now. I'm gonna skip my breaks. I'm gonna make mistakes. I just wanna feel alive. It's just what I do when I'm out. So try not to hold me down. Feel alive when I'm in this town. Look at these beautiful stars. I wanna drive a faster car. Nothing can break me, no, nothing can break me. Try not to hold me down. Feel alive when I'm in this town. Look at these beautiful stars. I wanna take a trip to Mars. Nothing can break me, no, nothing can break me. Look at these beautiful stars. I wanna drive a faster car. Lay my troubles to rest. Blow the smoke through my cigarette. City lights looking fine, and I know this is my time now. I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now. I'm gonna skip my breaks. I'm gonna make mistakes.
am about to show you guys my masterpiece, and I am genuinely proud of this painting. There's not a whole lot of paintings that I do that I don't mess up along the way and have to like paint back over like a dark spot and then like redo it. I didn't have to do that at all with this one. I took my time. It did take me all last night. I basically spent about 3 hours on it, and then this morning I've spent about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. So about 5 hours to paint this, and not bad. I think it's absolutely stunning, but this is how she turned out. I love it. It's moody, it's light and airy still. I don't know, it's everything. I love it so much. Let me know what y'all think. But now I just gotta build a frame. So I need to go buy, oh my gosh, there's paint all over my couch. Thank goodness it's leather and I can wipe it clean. By the way, I paint with acrylic. Acrylic is like the easiest for me to paint with. I think I may have already mentioned that in this video. But I can water it down. I can almost turn it into like watercolors in a sense, and I love the way that acrylics look. Plus I like that they're easy to wash, and the acrylics that I buy are like non-toxic, so I don't have to worry about it, you know, breathing in a bunch of crap. But yeah, I'm gonna go to Lowe's though. I wanna get some like framing to frame it out. I wanna do like a really beautiful, thick, chunky gold frame. I think would be just absolutely beautiful for this piece. Maybe something a little bit like dark bronzy gold would be nice. I think that's what I want for my bedroom. So I'm gonna run and see if I can find some nice trim like at a decent price. And I also want to work on my headboard because I do plan on using this piece of art above my bed. I've had this canvas sitting in my closet for like weeks, and I just finally got around to painting. And actually my daughter's the one who inspired me. She's like, Mom, let's paint. I want to paint with you. And look at her painting. I love it. She's not completely done. She had to like, you know, whenever you're painting, you gotta wait for the layers to dry, but she's doing a sunset, so she was waiting for the pink to dry so she could go back over it with like whites and blues, and I think it's gonna turn out so cute. So I'm super proud of her. I love that she loves to paint with me. So that's something that we definitely bond over, and I love that. But yeah, we'll go see if I can find some trim, frame these out. Actually, I might get a little extra so we can frame hers as well. But that is the game plan. Alright, so I just made a quick frame for the canvas out of these 1x2 boards. I just cut some 45-degree angles just so that way everything was nice and seamless when it's all put together. And now I'm going to take this decorative trim that I bought, and I'm actually going to mark here like where I want it to go. And then the plan is to just nail it right to the top of this. That way it'll hold the canvas in place from the other side, and I can put like a little like board or something to keep the canvas from falling out. But this is gonna be my frame, so we'll see how it turns out. So what I like to do is cut one 45-degree angle on the far side of the trim first. Once I have that piece cut, I then laid it here on my frame, and I'm gonna mark with a pin where I need to cut my other angle. I have found this just to be the quickest and easiest way, and once you get your length and width cut, all you gotta do is just basically copy and paste that one more time. So I take what I've already cut here and what I've already cut here for the side, and I basically just take those two boards, lay them on the other trim, and that's how I get my perfect length and width for the last two boards. So that way I don't have to keep sitting over here like trying to measure it out like really perfectly. You just can use the two that you already cut as guides. Now, really quick, I did want to mention, whenever you are working with detailed trim, make sure that you are cutting your angles the right way. I've made the mistake before working with crown molding, or not crown molding, like the molding trim, where the detail was on the wrong side. I just cut the angle the wrong way. So just pay attention, because when you are using trim that only comes in a certain length, you want to try to get the most for your money, and you don't want to mess up. So always double check, so that way you do not have to make mistakes and waste product. And then once everything was cut, it's time to start nailing it in place. And I had every intention on using the wood glue. You can see it sitting right there, but I don't know. I was just one track minded and I was nailing this bad boy together. So yeah, I got it done without wood glue. You could totally use wood glue to make it even more sturdy, but it's fine. I just use nails. So I'm popping in quite a few nails along the side. This also helped reinforce that original frame that I built. It was really not sturdy at all. So just keep that in mind. If you do try to build a frame like this that's large, it's not going to be super sturdy until you get your canvas in there and then you add the pieces on the back that give it more stability. And to make the pieces for the back, basically I just took some leftover 1x2 boards and I cut those on each side at 45-degree angles so that way I could staple them in place on the back side, and I'll show you guys that in just a little bit. But before I decided to add the boards to the back side for the stability and to also hold the canvas in place, I tried to take a stapler and nail the decorative trim together. I don't know what I was thinking. Y'all will not believe what I just did. So I was stapling everything together and it stapled straight through. What was I thinking? Everything looked so good and I just ruined it with staples. Ah, that sucks so bad. I don't know what to do. Oh man. So the only thing I can think to do is just take some pliers and try my best to like pull them out. Okay, so they came right out. It just kind of splintered the wood just a hair, but I think it'll be okay. Just add some character. Oh, it sucks right here. It got it pretty good. Oh well. So that's what I was talking about with the staple gun. I like stapled the corners of the decorative trim. Why would I think that would ever work? I knew that the staplers were pretty big, but I was just working too hard and tired. And I was just moving too fast, not paying attention. But now it's time to move on to paint. So I took some black spray paint that I had on hand. I actually only had a tiny bit left, and I started to get worried right here because it was starting to not come out of the can. I was like, oh man, I just messed up. I'm not gonna have enough paint to even finish this. But thankfully I was able to stretch it just far enough to paint the entire frame black, the areas that really needed the black more so than anything. And then I'm going to go over all of that with the gold spray paint to create more of an antique gold instead of like a really stark shiny gold.
I used to think I had plenty of dreams and light in my life, so my glass was half empty, but you came along and showed me how to love without limits, to have a good time. My glass was always half empty, but now you're in my life. We're far away from the city lights, so small under the night sky. It's just us two, but I don't mind. You could never wear me out. Even after all of these years, you still look at me with the same love. It's just us two, but I don't mind. You could never wear me out. You could never wear me out. We have come all this way, love, so I don't see us stopping now. My life's an adventure, 'cause you came along and
This is the perfect example of why you should always double or triple measure. So the canvas was like just barely like not fitting. I was like, oh my gosh, how did I mess this up? It took me a little bit of like squeezing and pressing and pulling, and I finally got it to go in. So this canvas is probably never coming out of this frame, but hey, at least it looks good. And then here is where I was taking those extra pieces of wood that I had. I cut those at 45 degrees, and you can see I'm just adding them here to hold the canvas in place, although it's not budging. And really this is to also kind of give the frame itself a little bit more stability. At first, it was feeling a little wobbly, and to be honest, now that the canvas was in there, this was probably just an added step I didn't need, but I already cut them, so I figured why not. I started to get really impatient, and I was really excited to see how it turned out, because this is the first time I even saw it with the frame. So yeah, here is how it turned out.
Wow. Where are you going to put it?
Above my bed. What do you think?
I like it. It's so... my medicine.
Alright, so that is how it turned out. I'm in love. I think the frame just really elevated it so much. I cannot wait to get it on the wall. But before we do that, it's time to work on a DIY headboard. Earlier when I was at Lowe's, I also picked up some materials to make this headboard, and I just grabbed some really inexpensive boards to create just a basic frame, so that way I could add foam to it and then fabric. The goal was to create just a basic square upholstered headboard, and I probably could have done this a heck of a lot cheaper, but my original plan was to do something a little different, and last minute I ended up going with the safe option, and I kind of regret it because I feel like my more intricate type of design probably would have turned out really nice, but I was kind of panicking about time, and I'm kicking myself in the butt for that because I just had this conversation with myself and with you guys not too long ago about trying to take my time with projects more often and not rush them, because basically what I've done in the past is I've hurried up and rushed through a project just to do the project, because I'm I'm extremely impatient when it comes to certain things, and I rush them and then I end up tearing it apart and redoing it shortly after because I don't love it the first time. So basically that's what I did. I rushed this and I was moving too fast. I should have just waited. I personally think that it had a little bit to do with like I was at my creative limit. I had already painted. Previous to that too, we just built a little mini shed for our water heater, and we've just had a lot going on the past couple weeks, and I think that I was at my limit with being creative, so I was just trying to rush it. But I'll share with you guys how I built it in case you are interested in something really simple like this. This is the most basic headboard you can build. So all the wood here that you can see in this video right now, I have two 1x4x8s, two 1x8x8s, and then two 1x6x8s, and one 1x2x8. I know that's a lot. I'll just have it listed down below in the description box. I don't even know why I tried to read that off, but that's the size of the boards that I used, and all of that wood together was just under $40, so not bad at all for a basic headboard. And there was some scrap wood left over, so I was able to use it for other projects. And now I'm just taking some wood glue and some drywall screws to attach the wood together. You could totally use wood screws, but drywall screws are just cheaper in my opinion, and I just like the way they work much better. I use them for everything. And adding the wood glue just gives that extra security, make sure it doesn't wiggle around or anything like that. Okay, so I ended up buying this project foam. I'm not sure if this is going to be enough. I'm probably going to have to go back and get more. We'll see. I'll do my absolute best. Before I start laying down the foam, here's what the headboard looked like. I should have probably gotten a better overview before I started this, but I was on a roll. I was trying to get this done. So I took my little foam here, which is not thick enough. Oh my gosh. Number one mistake, trying to be cheap. I was like, I am not buying another $10 bag of foam. I'm gonna make this work. That's what I was saying in my mind. And y'all know, I pride myself on being extremely budget friendly. So if I'm going to share a project, I want to make sure that it fits for all different budgets while still looking high end. But I will say I did miss the mark on this one a little bit. I should have went with one more layer of foam. It would have created a more luxurious, thick, fluffy headboard effect instead of it just being like a thin piece of plywood with foam on it. Like I kind of was getting that vibe at the end. Honestly, when the bed is styled with pillows on it, you would never know. I'm not going to tell anybody. Nobody's going to know. Except for the thousands of you who are watching this video right now. And I wanted to add, it's not the end of the world. Projects don't always go as planned. Sometimes they turn out better than others, but there are moments where you end up having to fix or modify something that you messed up on or that you could have done better. And that is the beauty of DIY. That is part of learning. That's part of growing as a person. And I mean, honestly, can you imagine if everything just went perfect all the time, how boring it would be? You need little moments like this in life to where you can laugh and look back and be like, oh, I definitely learned from a mistake. So let me share what happened. And I originally was going to cut all this footage out because it didn't turn out, but I was like, you know what? No, I got to share this because it was creative and it could have totally worked. This would have worked if I had an extra layer of foam, so let me just say that. But what I took here was an old duvet cover I had. It was the perfect color. It's exactly what I wanted. It's soft, it's silky, it feels great. And the only thing wrong with it is on one side, there's a tiny little pinhole where one of the dogs like scratched it too hard and it ripped a small hole in it. So I was going to use this as the fabric. So I decided to double layer it to make it a little bit thicker. And everything was going smooth. I was like, this is definitely going to work. But like I said, the one mistake that I made was not adding the extra foam because it didn't give, there was not enough cushion. How do I explain this? Basically, when I was wrapping the fabric around, it was indenting the fabric too much, and it caused it to look really lumpy. I think if there was an extra layer of foam, it would have given it some more firmness, so that way when I did wrap the fabric, it wasn't pulling in on the foam as much. I hope I'm explaining that okay. But overall, this would have been a great, affordable way. Number one, I didn't have to buy fabric. I'm reusing something I already had instead of trashing it. I feel like this could have totally worked, and I'm kicking myself in the butt for being cheap and not buying the extra bag of foam, but it's okay. At this point, I start nailing all this fabric on. I didn't even cut it because I figured whenever I was done stapling, I'll go through and cut off all the extra fabric in the end. I'm not really that great at upholstering anything anyway, so I wanted to make sure I had plenty of fabric to work with. Now, once I was done wrapping the headboard, I brought it inside and I immediately was like, nope, I'm not even recording this. It was so bad. You could see all the dips and creases, and originally I was going to trash all the footage. Just being 100% real with you, I was going to throw it away. I wasn't even going to share all this, but then I was like, you know what? I'm going to show that you can make things work, even if it is a temporary solution. Don't give up. Just keep pushing forward. So I then went back to the drawing board and I grabbed this canvas drop cloth and I wrapped that around the headboard that I just wrapped with the duvet cover. And so what I think happened is adding that extra layer of fabric is what created a little bit more softness. So that way it wasn't showing all those dips and creases that I was experiencing the first time around. So going back to the beginning, had I originally bought more foam, I would have never had to do this twice, but it is what it is. But yeah, basically I'm just wrapping that drop cloth around the headboard now and stapling it in place. And I also took my small little iron that I have and tried to iron out a lot of the wrinkles. But one thing that really helped was working with this drop cloth while it was slightly damp. So I did wash it, and before it was fully dry is when I actually decided to use it to be able to wrap the headboard, and it just kind of helped stretch it out a little bit easier and helped without having a bunch of wrinkles. And in case you're curious, this is what the back side of the headboard looks like, so it's nothing fancy, but it does the job. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and share me putting the space back together. So the headboard is in place. You can see it turned out pretty darn good. I'm adding my artwork, and I'll show you guys a couple overviews on how it all turned out. Alright y'all, that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I appreciate you being here so very much. Thank you for always watching the good, the bad, the in-between, all of it. Y'all are just so amazing and encouraging, and y'all motivate me more than you realize. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye y'all!